Don't want to miss a second of this.
It's gold. All right, so today we're going to be reacting to some pretty cool TikTok filmmaking videos, and we have a pretty special guest, Christian Pearson from Popcross Studios.
I'm an illustrator and writer and former animator, so we're going to be getting to look at these videos from two different artistic lenses. We're going to look at some of the more traditional stuff Renee does in this series, looking at some really cool filmmaking techniques in different TikTok videos, and I've brought in some animation and illustration focused ones that are a bit of a blend of filmmaking and illustration that I think will be really cool to look at from both our perspectives. That shot.
This one here?
No, I mean that one is, that transition is so smooth.
Yeah.
Oh, how did he get the... But so the shot that messes with my head is the one where he's standing on the mountain, just like
Ooh.
This shot here. When my brain first started processing it looked to me like he had done some kind of effects to make him look like a giant. And I don't know, can you scrub back to like the freeze frame of that?
It's that little push in.
Right.
Right? And like on TikTok, this was like one of the first persons that I saw that like really started doing like super cinematic stuff.
Oh yeah.
And like just kind of unlocked the composition of vertical frames.
Right. Well, so on the topic of composition right now, this frame that we're holding on right now has something that in illustration I make sure to do a lot of the time for the focal point of an image or the thing that I want people to focus on. Right now, he is being, like, there's literally a frame built around him from the birds around his head and the like, mountain cliffs behind him. Like, that's literally something I would plan out for, okay, I want people to focus on this character's head. I'm going to put things that just, like, put a frame within the frame
And that's the, like, also in the layers, just as composition, you have like your first layer, which is like your ground and your subject. And then you have your second layer, which is the mountain, and your third layer, which is like the background, like rocks and everything. But the birds, like, part of me wonders, like, are those real birds?
Oh, you think, like, wait, let's play, like, I mean, the shot goes so quick, but like, I would say he just lucked out.
Yeah, that's like just perfect. Like
another thing that's, I mean, I guess I'm thinking more from the illustration standpoint, which is more for any of my audience that's come here. But the noticing that when drawing environments, which is something I and a lot of other illustrators have avoided doing a lot, is keeping in mind how much stuff in the background, like the far background, can get obscured by atmospheric.
Da Vinci's gradient, right? Whereas like the thicker atmosphere, things fade away and things desaturate.
More atmosphere between us and the stuff that's in the far background, so it's more faded out and washed out, especially because it looks like it's a cloudy day.
Yeah.
That would be like washing out the stuff in the distance more to a point where it's like that background stuff. Like if you were drawing it, you could almost just block in a solid block of green in the shape that you want.
Yeah. And Vinci's, because he like took notes a lot in his paintings and stuff, and when he did a lot of like landscape paintings, it was the desaturation of color. So as your like perspective goes back, you need to think that if you have a red on your subject, like wearing red, and then you have apple trees like that have red in the super far distance, that saturation of red has to be different, because when you're looking at it, it does desaturate the further that it goes because of the atmosphere.
Right.
My favorite shot in this whole sequence is opening with this like reverse shot of like just composition wise. Like again, it's a beautiful shot even if you flip it around, but having it upside down where you're like focusing on like the reflection first and it's creating like this perfect duality is absolutely like it's so unique, and it brings you to this like whole other world just from that first perspective or that first shot. Is like centered objects too, right? Your eyes are looking in the middle, and I guess for vertical that's kind of the composition trick a little bit more, but a lot of these are centered, you know, so you have your subject in the middle that kind of has like the peak of the mountain, which is also like symmetrical with the peak of the mountain here. So you have a lot, even like where his head lines up, and like you have these. So like when personally when I see these kind of things, I see a lot of like intent behind the filmmaking, behind the shot choices, either with movement or with composition, and it's like almost a match cut between two similar objects or like similar feeling objects. And like even color, like here you have like the complete reverse where it's the sky's on the bottom, and then you completely switch where the sky's on top and the ground is on the bottom. And like it's just kind of this duality that's being, I don't know, amplified a little bit.
Right.
And it's like with the music,
that transition too,
so clean.
And also, you mentioning that first shot, that's also a good way to just like subtly inform people of like a visual theme that's going to be happening throughout the video. Just so you know, like when you get to this, your brain's a little bit more ready for it.
Yeah, very also like super fashion too. Like I could see this for like a fashion commercial for this clothing brand or something.
His jawline could cut glass.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that chin. He could chisel marble with that chin.
Very handsome fella.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I was just gonna grab a snack, but since I got your attention now, I just wanted to tell you guys about Artlist. So Artlist is an amazing platform, and if you're a content creator, a filmmaker, or just like making videos and you're looking for some cool music, sound effects, or even AI voice, you should really check out Artlist. Now, I've been using Artlist since the beginning. It is an amazing website and it's so affordable. And so if you're interested in signing up, you should definitely use my coupon code down below, which will give you 2 months free for any 1-year subscription. All right, now let's get back to the show.
All right, so I saw this video and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. If you can teach me how to do this, that'd be great.
Okay.
But, okay.
Ooh.
This is...
Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh.
Right.
Love this kind of stuff. Like, it's got such a nice blend of executed really well, but also has a DIY, like, almost early special effects kind of vibe to it. Like someone who's learning, but also you can tell there's so much high level stuff in it too that they're clearly not a beginner.
Yeah.
But it's got like a blend of like rudimentary feeling stuff mixed with like high quality, high level. There's a bunch of things where I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. I could do that. I could do that. But then I'm like, oh, I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
But like so much of it just feels like just taking the time to do it. Like just masking out himself there in each frame slightly differently, so it's got that jittery effect that almost makes me think of...
It has that paper drawing.
It makes me think of the punk rock Spider-Man from Across the Spider-Verse. Where he always has like a bit of paper cut out around him, and it's got that same sort of vibe.
The rotoscope on him is not... It's super basic, you know? But like you don't care about that. It looks like, and like, but using the elements, like the baseball, like throwing the baseball and then the baseball comes to us. This is why I chose this one, because I know your reaction.
I used to jump anytime someone showed me a video where a baseball flies at the screen and you like, I was not watching the TV and I still fell out of my chair. Like those videos for some reason always get me. I think because in this it was like not...
It was more aesthetic.
There's so many things going on.
And it also doesn't come straight for you.
Right.
Like, and but I when I saw that I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to...
But one thing to point out is back in my animation days, there were a bunch of times where I was trying to get a glitchy effect. And like there are plugins and presets you can do to make glitchy effects, or it's almost like you have to figure out a lack of thought to put in to how you want to make a glitch happen, because he's probably doing all of these frames manually,
individually.
And if like it's easy to get too lost, if you get too lost in a formula for the glitches that you want to make, it won't look like it's glitching anymore. It'll look like something that you've made manually, whereas you're trying to make it look like a quote unquote mistake.
But also, if you go back to that section, I loved when you were scrubbing through it, like how each piece of clothing he's wearing grows. So just before he catches the ball, look at like all these individual, like his shirt, his head grows, his shirt grows, then his hand comes in from like a different, it's like all different like layers.
I don't even see his hand like disappears. There's no ball in his hand for the first few frames. The ball just comes out of nowhere, but like
and the ball is not real too. Like the ball is just like,
I think that ball is a 3D object that he's then distorted, and because it is rotating, it's clearly not just a single It's not just like a freeze frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many things that you don't think about when you're looking at this that just add to the aesthetic, that when you actually take a time to freeze and look at it, you're like, how did he decide to put that there? Like, what was the thought process behind there's a world and a mouse, and is this like part of his pant leg?
Or his jacket?
Oh yeah, maybe.
I think it's the back of his jacket.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Which it stays there and then it moves.
Yeah. It's like there's so many things that seem like nonsense that he probably put lots of thought into.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's just so much. There's so much. Yeah. And I like these moments of like silence or like relaxing, and you're like, okay, this is over. It's like leaning down.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I like this one.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do the ones that I brought. So for context, I don't know 100% for sure that this guy's the original creator. I'm pretty sure he is. I've seen his videos reposted a bunch of times on Instagram, and nobody ever credits the original source.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure. He goes by
Kingsland941.
Yeah, Kingsland941 on TikTok. Unless this is the original poster, someone has just dedicated their TikTok to uploading this guy's videos.
Okay.
I hope this is the original. And he adds the lighting effects on this one too. Like, it's just such a cool concept.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay, so here's him like actually building the characters. A comment I've seen from a few people on his stuff is that if you speed it up to twice the speed, it looks smoother.
Okay.
I think he's kind of started moving a bit faster in the future ones, but you can see his camera literally knocks over the characters. And that's how they're getting revealed. This is so cool though, like that idea of, he just has such a good understanding of animation and has rebuilt it in a way that I've never seen anyone else do before. And I just thought it was so cool when I first saw it. And there's so many different methods being built in, like the characters being flipped up versus just actually moving through the scene. It's such an impressive concept.
And it's just like the movement of the camera too, like, and it like you have your...
You can see his lighting too.
Yeah.
That's something that I think I only noticed it in this one, but he also even adds a light effect, like when it starts going blue.
Strike?
He like adds a little bit, like it's a pretty basic lighting effect, but just to emphasize the lightning.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so cool. Like this guy clearly is, I don't know if he is an animator outside of this in real life, but he's clearly a good animator, illustrator, came up with such a creative concept for filming his stuff in a different way. And it also, the autofocus focusing on the closest version helps wash out the previous frame.
Yeah.
And that, like, it just, and he also even built the speed lines in the background.
Yeah.
But even that, like, disappears and you can just see his bedroom for a bunch of it, but you're just so, like, you're so in it that, I mean, your eye's probably not going to wander up there until you've watched it a couple times.
And it's relatively fast too, right? Like when you're watching it, it's like you're super focused on the character.
That is so creative.
Switch is so cool.
And even like, go back to like the way the lightning is 3D built around this character. He didn't just draw it on a flat plane. Gives it a little, like the lightning's casting a shadow on him, which doesn't technically make sense, but like it's a cool way. And his understanding of parallaxing as well to make all this look even cooler. How stuff in the background, I don't know if it's as much in this one, but like the stuff in the background, and even as he changes his rotation a little bit, you can just, there's so much texture built into it.
Yep.
Also, just scrub back to when he first burst through the cardboard. Like the fact that he like made the cardboard exploding out as if the character had just come through it.
And the blue that's like seeping through here too, so it's not just like cardboard.
And you barely see this too. Like you go by it so quick.
And then like that head that comes off and like... It's so cool to look at this like shot for shot. Too. Like you really get to appreciate like the amount of time this took. There's this one. And it's just like images.
Yeah.
Just like one image, like again, no video, like, and it's a photo of her, and then it just like makes the building grow behind her. Like, I think the beginning, the intro impact is, like, really, really nice.
I'm also trying to tell if if it's just the buildings coming up or if everything's kind of rotating in a parallax to bring the buildings up as well.
Ooh.
Because they're like the buildings in the background are obviously just like freeze frame 2D images, but the way they're moving feels like it's almost like the camera is rotating up and like they're being brought up in kind of a circular motion.
Yeah, I'm getting, you know when the city in Inception does that motion?
Right.
It kind of feels a little bit like that at some point. But I think it's just growing. I think it's like the multiple growing effect because I don't see any distortion on the buildings. I just see it growing. But maybe, because the perspective stays, like the perspective on this one stays exactly the same. Like the angle and the perspective, and they're just moving up, right?
Yeah, if it is just them growing up, that really messes with my head. Makes it feel like it's them being rotated.
And I wonder, because you know, like before linear perspective, like Brunelleschi in the, I forget the years, but the use of like color contrast, using like yellow with blue to create the illusion of depth, even though linear perspective doesn't make any sense. Because again, with linear perspective, there would be like two vanishing lines, like let's say in this image. But with this, it's like using color as a rudimentary kind of like illusion of depth. So the yellow is the same yellow as here, but because there's blue in between, it feels like there's a sense of layers between them, even though there is no actual vanishing point.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder if like the choice of color in the buildings here is what is creating that illusion of depth and is increasing our like brain beep. But also like this is just, it's zoomed back. Like it's just a simple zoom back. And I think that line that you see on that original photo, which is like she's at the rooftop.
Right.
I think that also creates an extra little bit of illusion.
But it's just so well executed and artistically, and like you were saying with the color scheme and everything about it. And I like the first time we watched it, I thought she was a video.
Yeah,
like it's and it's obvious now when you look at it slower that it's not because her hair is not moving at all. But
also really good masking in her hair too. I noticed you can see the buildings in the background move, so they did a really good job. I like
and curly hair like that is an extra pain in the butt to try and figure
definitely
out where you want to see see through it and not.
Now in my younger days I used to sport a shag. When I went to school I carried lunch in a bag with an apple for my teacher cause I knew I'd get a kiss. Always got mad when the class was dismissed.
There's so many shots in there in such a small length of time.
I know. For me, the camera movement alone is so cool.
Yeah.
Like it really moves, and like
I love that, like the impact effect he added on the ball being kicked. Like that was the first thing I saw. Like it's such a simple distortion mesh or distortion map or whatever it's called.
Yeah, because you see everything around just like distort and everything.
Yeah, like that immediately gave me an anime sort of vibe. Like I've never said it out loud. Haiku, no, that's not it. But like there's a volleyball anime that I watched for a while. But like I just love that little anime aesthetic of like an extra impact being added to something.
Also, first of all, his
just really,
skills.
Yeah, he's really good at soccer.
Bouncing the ball like crazy. And I like these little moments where like it's such a good transition shot where it takes you away from the subject and then it like zooms in on the foot crunch, you know?
Right.
But this is probably what you're talking about where he's like eventually grabbing here and then sweeps again. Again, fisheye distortion lens gives such cool perspective. But then he grabs it.
Oh my god. Yeah, I wasn't even processing how good the actual moves are. Just because I was thinking about the filmmaking of it. But also, that's so cool. What?
That catch.
Oh, that transition.
Ball. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everything comes in.
I'll be honest, I think that's actually my least favorite shot.
Yeah?
I think it's just because the
After effects.
the After Effects of it feels a little bit. Maybe that's because I've done so much After Effects stuff in my day.
Yeah.
And like so much of the other stuff in this feels so high level. But like that stands out a little bit to me. Like, that's not quite as cool as everything else in the video. But I mean, that's such a minor.
It's definitely a trend. This whole like multiple pieces coming in.
I think the thing that might have helped me not be taken out by it is if he just put like a sky in the background as behind everything else instead of being just completely black.
Yeah. But also it's also like you're beginning the same way you start, right? So it's the exact same
right? Yeah,
shot.
that's a good point.
So it's like a little bit of a bookend, like narrative-wise, if you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And also it's just like one shot where like, did you zoom in and stuff?
Right.
But also, where is this location? There's like these boxes in the background. It looks really cool. But I do agree, like the intro shot sells it with the impact, you know?
Yeah.
Because then you're entering the world and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be a funky, like, different style video. But everything else is just so, like, solid in the movement.
Yeah.
Like, the camera movement and everything, and, like, that rotation with him. Also, they're doing, like, very much a Mad Max thing, and I remember like Mad Max Fury Road center framing, yeah. So the ball is like very, very often like in the middle,
right?
So you're like really, you can, even though there's so much movement, you're still focused in one point.
That's
and the majority of the time, it's always landing in the relatively close to that middle. Yeah. Like the ball starts, it's like in the middle, and like that rotation here in the middle. Here, I think even here, you know, it's like always kept in the middle. So well done. So well done. All right. Well, that was the last video.
All right. That was lots of fun.
That was super cool, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You know?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I'm happy to. This was super cool.
We'll definitely have to do more of this if the people like it, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how I should end this, right? I guess I'll just end it alone. Little cut. And
that sounded so sad. I guess I'll just end it alone.
I'll do the outro all alone.